Where do you see AI having the biggest real world impact on dispensary operations? Where do you
Live
see
running dashboard that shows them in real time, integrated through Dutchie's API, have a live worldwide. They went on a big campaign the first quarter of this year, basically saying, we suck.
So, hello everyone, and welcome back to the first episode of Budcast, powered by Spokes Digital. I'm your host, Varun Patel, founder and CEO at Spokes Digital. Today, we are diving deep into the intersection of high level finance, retail agility, and marketing premium cannabis. Joining us today is a leader with over 30 years of executive, financial, and operational experience in the industry. He's navigating one of the most competitive markets in the country as both the CEO and CFO of Mellow Cannabis, Matthew Richman. Matthew, welcome to the Budcast. And I would say, I had been to your store and it was beautiful visit. You have a beautiful location as well. We had a
Thanks,
great
Varun.
fun. Yeah,
Glad to be here. Thank you.
yeah, absolutely. So it's great to have you here, Matt. And with your background spanning both public and private sectors, you have a really fascinating perspective in this space. So let's jump right into it. So I will just ask you things like you have spent 30 years across multiple industries in multiple tech and finance roles before landing into cannabis. What was the moment or the realization that made you say, this is the space I want to build in?
So that's a good question. I think the way I would characterize it is it wasn't necessarily, I mean, there was a moment, right? But it was more of a culmination of things over the years. So I always make a comment to people that when I was in high school, if there was a senior superlative for most likely to run a marijuana business, I would have
Oh,
won
really?
hands down. Um, and we just leave it at that. Everybody can get all the context from that. But I found myself in Colorado in the early 2000s in a tech company. But and I was in Boulder, and lots of my friends, everybody smokes weed, and some of my friends were growing out there as well, and they had moved out from Florida to actually grow in Colorado
Yeah,
under the medical market. So I really started to look at it in the early 2000s when it was really super early, and then I had a couple of kind of potential business ventures in the industry, and like I would say, you know 2010, 2011, when it was still really just the wild, wild west. But I was also at that time still really hesitant about doing it because, it's still kind of a taboo industry. I had come from, corporate finance, Deloitte,
right,
et cetera. It's like,
right.
okay, well, if this doesn't work, I go back to all my friends. I was this drug dealer for a year, and now let's hire me back and let me do your books. So um, that was one of the big kind of hesitations, was that piece. But by the time it got around to 2017, I had just finished up with a company in Florida, a print packaging company that I sold for one of my good friends, and we
So
decided to go.
this was after you moved from Deloitte to the other company?
Yeah, this is many years. So I left Deloitte a long time ago, like
Okay.
1999.
Uh-huh.
To date
Okay.
myself a little bit, I think is when 2000 maybe is when I left Deloitte.
Okay.
And then I ended up, in corporate finance in a retail company, actually building retail stores in the late 90s for telecommunications, cell phones,
Okay.
first like cell phone stores. It was really quite exciting. Like we sold the Motorola StarTAC. Remember those phones and old.
Yeah.
So we sold internet access at our store. You could come in and browse the web on our computers. So and pay for your time. It was quite a different day and age back then, especially in light of what's happening today. But no, I went to Colorado in early 2000, spent about 11 years there, and then one of my good friends had a big packaging company in Florida that I needed to basically buy new presses, get a new facility, and he asked me to come in and run it for him. So I went back to Florida, which is where my family is, and did that for 5 years for him, sold the business in 2016. And that's when we decided to go back to Colorado, my direct family and I. And Grant was going into high school at that time, and South Florida is not a very good place to go to public school. So we went back to Colorado, and that's when I really decided I'm just going to go ahead and dive right into the cannabis space. I'm not worried about any taboos. It's 2017 now, and it's a train that's out of the gate, out of the station. It's not going to stop rolling. And actually, everybody has their stops and starts. My plan in 2017 was to start a small craft, whatever you want to call it, but small cultivation and wholesale business in Colorado. I had, my team together, and I had a facility that we were just about to sign a lease on. We had already worked with the city of Aurora, and then the wholesale market fell apart in 2017. Prices cut in half in Colorado. And I was like, well, you can't really start a store.
Very early in the stage.
Yeah. Because back in those days, supply would be down, and then all of a sudden there would be a ton of supply in the market. You have the impact of the outdoor harvest. I mean, they still impact, but there's so much more indoor now. It's like back in 2018, 2017, outdoor versus indoor. I don't know what the percentages are, but certainly today there's far more indoor than there was, 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I talked to some smart people, talked to my dad, and what do you think I should do here? And so I'm not going to start the business. And everybody told me that I should just go get a job in the industry and just get inside. I said, you know a lot, but you don't know really much about the inside, and you think you know a bunch about the inside. So I took their advice, and that's when I started looking for a job in Colorado, which is where I was, to looking something like CFO type role, right? Of course, being a CFO type guy. But it turned out that I was able to land a position as the CEO of a 3-store Colorado vertically integrated cannabis company. And
that's big progress. Yeah. You must
it was hard to break. I mean, it's hard to break in, but I will say, and for folks out there who want to break into the industry, the easiest path is finance, because there's such a lack of talent in our industry. So the fact that I could be the CEO and the CFO and the COO, right, especially for small to mid-sized companies, is very attractive. And there were people that were current CEOs of cannabis companies interviewing, and people that had been CEOs before. It was actually my first CEO job. I had always been either CFO or COO, but they had enough faith in me to put me in the CEO role. But I was, like I said, I was also the CFO, and when I reviewed their financials in the interview with them, and after a minute, they were like, all right, we're done, because they were a mess, like everybody is. Not everybody, but a lot are. And they're like, all right, you passed the test, you know more about this than we do.
Yeah.
So that was really, I think, the clinching factor for me to be able to make that move. And my advice for people wanting to get in the industry is, if you are in finance, take that route, because there's a lot of demand for good finance people.
Absolutely. So I think this gives me my follow-up question. Like, running both the CEO and CFO roles means you are holding the vision and the numbers at the same time, right? So how does that dual lens shape the way you have built a dispensary, Mellow Cannabis, from culture to day-to-day decisions and new retail location you are acquiring?
Very good question. So I think I'll answer it generally, and then I'll dive into some more specifics on that one. So I think for me, the difference between being the CFO and the COO is not very much. Okay. I run a business, right? I run a business, and I run a business by the numbers, right? So even if I had a CFO or somebody doing that, I think a lot of my world would still be very dominated by the drive for corporate finance, structured, managed our cost structures, really managing the business by the numbers. Of course, there's more than the numbers. Customer service, everything is certainly super valuable, but I make a joke about things with my folks, and I say, if you don't look at your bank balance, it's not going to get bigger. And so if you pay attention to the numbers, they're not going to get better. It just doesn't happen automatically. So I think it's a natural thing, from that perspective.
I hope they take it positively.
They definitely do. And the other thing that goes with being the CFO and the COO or CEO, it's kind of like M&A world, right? So I've done a bunch of M&A in my time, and when I did M&A, the person that one of my mentors who I worked for, he had a really different structure for it, and I was the M&A guy buying it, but I was also the integration guy integrating it. So if I bought bad things, I had to integrate bad things. And I couldn't blame the M&A team for buying something bad because I bought it. And I couldn't blame the integration team for not integrating it well because I'm the integration team. So it
Right.
really set up a really strong accountability loop there. And it works that way too. And, CEOs can blame CFOs and CFOs blame CEOs. Who am I to blame? I can't blame anybody. And so when we have like a bad month, which happens, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I can't be like, oh, listen, it's all me. So I just end up blaming myself,
Yeah.
which is all good. But I think to go into your question a little bit deeper, so for the dispensary, I think everybody's always focused on sales. Sales are wonderful. You have to have sales. But if you don't have profitable sales, you're just going through the motions, right? Like, we talked about it one time in one of my board meetings. We're doing all this work to just pay our lawyers, right? Let's make money, right? That's the way to run a business. And I think ingraining in the team the attention to the numbers. So having the numbers in front of them. And it's a challenge for us, because you'll
Yes.
find, not only in retail in general, but in the retail cannabis dispensary, a lot of the folks don't have any financial backgrounds at all. So a lot of it is around teaching them things. So, for example, we often have discussions, like gross margins down 2 points, and I'll just have a discussion with them. Well, why do you think it's down? And they don't know the answer, but there's 5 different things that could be doing it, right? And actually, 5 that they brought up, I'm like, you know what? I bet you that one's actually doing more to impact it because of this, this, and this. Or they'll say things to me that then correlate my understanding because they're on the ground in the store, right? So one of my questions of why is one particular bud tender's average cart so low? He's one of our best bud tenders. But it turns out he never works the online registers. Registered online is 20% higher automatically every day. And
Yeah.
and he always works the evening when we have a dominant amount of in-store traffic, which is the lower cart. So makes sense that he's lower than people who are there in the morning when we're just, people just coming in and picking up orders, right? And it's
Yes.
already 20% higher. So getting them to really understand, I don't need them to be financial experts. They don't understand what's happening in the numbers. Your cart is down. Why is your cart down? Right? There's a
Yeah.
variety of reasons why your cart could be down, from pricing issues to not having the proper right availability. Why is your margin down? Well, you're bundling products and you're not looking at your margin. So people do bundles all the time. This is the greatest example, right? You've seen this all the time. Bundle after bundle after bundle. Every time we do a
Yeah.
bundle,
Yes.
we calculate the discount amount, we calculate the revised gross margin on it, right? So we know, are we making enough money on this? Sometimes we're okay making not much. It's okay. Like this, we have July 4th coming up, right? So for fun, we did a 250th anniversary bundle. We've never done a bundle like this before. It's $250 in the store. So it's a big ticket, but I think it's like 305 or something dollars worth of product, right? That we're giving them. And so it's a great deal. Our margin
Yes.
is lower on it, right? But it's okay. It's a big ticket. And they understand driving the ticket up, sometimes you sacrifice the margin. Driving the sales, you sacrifice margin sometimes. The more discounting you do. So this is it's not about them showing them how to do it. It's about working with them continuously to get it to be kind of a state of mind for them.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think it's a special for the July this time. I think it's
Yes.
250th anniversary of independence, right?
Yeah. So the 250 bundle.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
That one. And
That's
we're in
great.
Haverhill. We're in Massachusetts too. I mean, this is the home of the United States, right? And
Yes.
July 4th is a big holiday here. So it's going to be a lot of fun too. We got some music on the porch. So we got some music out on the porch. We have some local vendors coming, like not, we have cannabis coming, but we have like the local, like, I don't think they were there when you were there, but like, I think there's a sauce or a marmalade company coming and a couple of little local companies from Haverhill to come and sell their products. And, get some exposure. It should be a really fun weekend. And our store is on the way to the beach. So even though a lot of the beaches are closed right now in Massachusetts, but that's a
I
tough.
wish I was there to experience this fun. Maybe
The
some of the
big
time.
fireworks shows. It should be pretty exciting. Yeah.
Yes, beautiful. So, Matt, I see that you are not only a CEO and CFO, but I know personally that you are a tech guy too, right? And you can talk tech and you can work on tech like no other. I have seen that. So, since you see that AI is reshaping almost every industry right now, from inventory and compliance to customer personalization, where do you see AI having the biggest real world impact on dispensary operations? And are you already experimenting with any of it? And what are your plans?
That's a good question. That's a fun question to answer as well, right? Because some of it involves playtime and fun time. We joke about it as well because, like, Claude's just doing its thing. So for me, it's very important for Mello to not only embrace AI, but more so the drive that we have overall in technology, right? It's not just AI, it's automation, right? And everything ties back to data and gathering data and capturing data. So as we talk data now, we're talking about things that finance people like, right? So this kind of all somewhat ties together, but we have an initiative here at the company to drive the use of AI by our managers, number one, as assistants, to make them super managers, to give them access to everything they could ever need, as well to save them time. So we've implemented Claude across the management team, the senior management team. And
Amazing. Yeah.
what's that?
It's a wonderful tool. Yeah. Claude, if you're implementing that, yes, wonderful
It's
tool.
wonderful. We have Claude Cowork, and we're also running Claude Code. Only a few of us are using Code. You could probably guess I'm in Claude Code.
Oh, yeah.
And I would tell you, we've only been using it for about a month now, the team, and I would estimate that they're saving. There's about, I think there's 7 of them using it right now, and I
Mhm.
would estimate they're saving 40 hours a week combined right now, just from automating reporting. So, we've automated most of the internal reporting that we do here at the company. So like I said, the first piece is driving my team to be able to be better, faster, et cetera, and give them everything
Yeah.
they need. So that's Claude Code, Claude Cowork. As an example, I was at the store last Thursday. You'll love this, by the way. So sitting with Antonio, you've met, I think, and one of the inventory techs came upstairs, and they did a big restock that morning. And he says, it'd be really awesome if we had a dashboard that was in the inventory room that showed us all the time what's low on stock, what needs to be restocked, what's in the back stock. Because, we have a big store and, we have, I don't know, 600, 500, 600 SKUs on the menu. We've got, $600,000-$700,000 of inventory there. We've got different rooms for everything. It's not so simple, this restocking process. Everybody's, I'll just restock the floor. Well, if you've never done it yourself, then you really don't understand. And so, as you know, I've done these things myself. So they said on Thursday, I said, okay, I can build that for you. And I built it on Sunday for them. And it went live yesterday. I just
Amazing.
I just needed to get it hosted through Cloudflare. And I'm not as good on that side of it, the server sides and setup. I needed my IT group to help me. But we have a live running dashboard that shows them in real time, integrated through Dutchie's API. It updates every 20 minutes and it identifies all the low stock, everything that has to be restocked. It tells them what packages are available in the back stock and where they are. It pulls at FIFO,
Oh,
so
wow.
automatically. And then anything that we don't have back stock of falls to the restock report. And there's a report that gets written every day that they download. That's everything that we didn't have in the store that has to go now on new orders. So not only is it, automating all that activity, but it's making it in front of everybody's face. So instead of the manager having to tell the tech, hey, here's all the stuff you have to do, the tech just looks at the computer screen now and says, okay, that's next on the list.
Amazing.
Okay.
Amazing.
Right. So we rolled that out. I'm estimating that will save 30 to 40 hours a week.
Absolutely. Yeah,
For
absolutely.
just that
I think
one.
I think next time I meet, your title should be CEO, CFO, and CTO.
No, 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 no. So this is actually another side of it, right? So
Yeah,
you really have to be responsible
yeah,
with this technology, not only in overall, but as it impacts your company. It can run wild, it can go on its own, and it can expose you to risks and things that including exposing your data. So, one of the things that we're actually moving towards is getting somebody to be in that position, Varun, that will be kind of the chief AI tech person that will drive and be responsible for all that. Right now, it's me and our IT support group. But one of the things that I've learned in my learnings and research is things that are this important, you really have to have somebody dedicated, responsible for it. So we're working
absolutely.
towards that. I'm actually going to meet somebody who just got recommended to me from a company that I respect a lot, and so we're going to look at some of those opportunities there. We also have like a corporate governance policy around how we use AI, how we use Claude, what they're allowed to do and not allowed to do, and we're implementing an auditing software. We have Claude Teams. We're not big enough for enterprise, so we have to have a separate kind of auditing structure to go through it to, like, for example, review and identify everybody's connectors and make sure there's nothing at risk. I don't want to stop them from doing things because that defeats the whole purpose of giving them these tools. So we have to figure out a way to audit them on the back end. The other thing that it's allowing us to do, and this is really, I mean, so I took our inventory file from the store from Dutchy, and I
Mhm.
dropped Claude, and I told Claude to work on it, to do, I'm a finance guy, right? So I want to do a full analysis. I want to look at margins, pricing, out of stocks, missing data, right? What's missing, test results in the records, right? So, and then I also took our sales data for the 6 months of the year. It's like 180,000 records. Took that, and then I took our discounting reports and I put them all together into Claude, and I told it what I wanted it to do, and then I said, take your own liberties, bring best practices to this. I don't know everything, and start analyzing. And it took all the reports together, and it basically built me a comprehensive inventory analysis. And then I also told it to go out and check all my competitors, get their pricing, compare mine, identify menu gaps, pricing gaps, everything you can think of, or that you would ever want to know, right? I fed this
Yeah,
thing, and it has a written narrative of everything. It recommended some changing to some of our pricing tiers, um, and we're not doing it yet. We're still analyzing, but we've made a few changes right off the bat that were like obvious, right? It's like, yeah, we got to make this change. um, and it also identified customer churn, um, buy
wow, that is wonderful.
what the customers buy, why they're not coming, maybe because I don't have those products anymore, because I have all the data. So it's just a matter of doing it. So I built that. That was in co-work only. The dashboard's in code. So we're doing that. But then on the back end, think about, like that inventory tool for the dispensary. They can run it every hour if they want to. So every day they can come in. So what I did then, sorry to finish this. So I built out this tool. It's a project in Claude Cowork. Then
Right.
I asked Claude Cowork to write instructions for my managers to set this project up in their own Cowork, so their own instance,
Oh,
and
wow.
package with all the files they need, right? And boom, and I sent that to them. So now so like the store management team now can set this up in their own Claude, and now they can use it themselves. So it took all that finance knowledge combined with years of experience, right? Putting it into a tool that can now help them run the business better. There's no reason why the store should ever not be stocked properly when it's right in front of your face, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So that's the one side, and then underneath, there's a lot that we're doing as well with the business. So marketing from the retail dispensary side and on AI around that is critical for us. As we use an AI tool to help us manage our website and do some of that work. It's worked pretty good.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
you
Absolutely.
know, we have a little bit of an AI tool helping me with some of my social media. You've seen I've got a lot of content. I make most of it, but it helps me. And it really, there's some blogs that I've been writing that AI has been helping me. Blogs around things like, you'll see today, there's a blog going out about winning back customers that I wrote. and not just saying, hey, get 10% off to come back, right?
Oh, wow. Amazing. Yeah.
So, inciting, like actually this year, Burger King, I don't know, you're not here, obviously, but Burger King's worldwide. They went on a big campaign the first quarter of this year, basically saying, we suck. Okay. And they wiped out that weird looking King guy and they said, we suck, we know it, and we're committed to fixing it. And they did fix it. They didn't give anybody any discounts. They just fixed it. And people came back, and Burger King sales, same store sales, quarter over quarter, blew everybody else's away. It's like 6% growth, which normally you're looking at 2%. So beat McDonald's, beat everybody. So there's a lot of ways to look at winning back customers. Just offering a discount is not the way. They left for a reason. Just try to figure out why. So there's some of the stuff that we can do with AI around our marketing efforts, whether it's winning back customers, whether it's customizing the content that we're putting in front of our customers, because they are, right?
Personalizing the ads and all that. Yeah. That was the next area I wanted to touch upon. So we have talked about, I think, like finance and tech. So how can other operators benefit from Miller's digital marketing success, and how critical it is to have Google Ads and SEO and local SEO? And what are the key things to keep in mind before launching digital marketing campaigns? Maybe if you can throw some light on it, probably it will be good.
That's a good question. And as you know, I'm in the middle of all these things all the time. So I think I'm going to answer your last part of your question first. I think going into it, you absolutely need to have well-established objectives. Okay. Now, your goals and objectives, right? Now, goals and objectives, measuring, obviously measurable results we want, but what are your objectives that you're trying to achieve? I think oftentimes and also just companies in general, we get involved with different things and we have objectives that are clashing potentially, or we're not synergizing, everything's not working together. And so that's my first comment. The second one is on the synergizing, and Varun, I'm actually experiencing this now. So so maybe you knew that when you asked me the question. So I work with multiple companies, right? I work with you guys. I have my AI tools that are doing some of the other things with me. Got Lauren doing things for us, right? She's awesome. But I'm finding that it's not working together. So I've got a lot of activity. I've got this, I've got this, I got this, I got this, I got this, but it's all not complementing each other.
Right.
It seems to be a little bit siloed even. So I would say that when you look at this, really look at it comprehensively, and you've got to cover all the pieces. So like you mentioned, advertising, local SEO, right? GEO, of course, those have to be critical pieces, but you obviously, have to hit on everything to really, I think, because like our website, if the website's not working not well, or if it's not updated properly, or if it's not timely, right, that's going to go against everything we're doing over here. If we're not responding to reviews in a timely manner, it's going to work against our efforts over here. If our blogs are too automated, because we have some tools doing it, and then we have some personal ones, right? Because we have a tool that does some, and then we have things that I write and that I create, and that, I use AI a little bit to help me. But, you do a little too much of the automatic, and you lose kind of that authority, connection, personal, etc. As you know, on LinkedIn, we've got a huge drive for, they call it owner-led or whatever, founder-led marketing. I'm not the founder of Mello, but I've been running Mello for a year and 6 months, 7 months. I think everybody pretty much knows it kind of runs like a Mac company. But the founder-led marketing is a big effort, but that has to sync in with everything else, because I'm doing all kinds of things on LinkedIn with content that can benefit the other areas. So that's one of the areas that I think I'm finding that I'm struggling in a little bit. And I'd asked Bree to get with Lauren and talk about these things, because it's not necessarily that I have to spend more money. It's always about, how do I make sure that I'm getting a good return on the money I'm investing? And that's where we are, as you know, we're all over this, right? I want to see my ROIs. We've actually asked your team to calculate ROI differently, because I like to calculate it on my margin instead of my sales. And, but I think you've seen this as well from us, that we have so many things happening. They're all generating positive results. But if we were all working together, I think we would have a
It will
much.
multiply. Yes. Yeah.
And
That's
I told the web team the other day, because I said I want to make sure we're clear. I've told them this before. SEO is important to me. GEO is important to me. AEO is important to me. But let me set all these fancy buzzwords aside. What do I want? What am I trying to achieve here? And I think that's what dispensaries have to ask themselves. What do you want to be seen as out there? I want to be seen as Mellow, to be seen as an authority in
right.
cannabis, as
Right.
a quality company that's honest, with integrity, that is helpful, that has lots of knowledge, right? Respected source, right, is what I want Mellow to be. I don't care if people say we have the lowest prices. I don't want to have the lowest prices. I just want to have fair prices and reasonable prices. And so, but if people, I think, view our business like that, I think they'll come shop with us.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think that's the biggest difference that any retailer can create, having that identity where you are known for service quality, and maybe how can you make your customers first approach, right? That is something I think is better than having just a pricing strategy or discounting strategy.
Yep. And when you look at the two, right, like obviously we have to do discounts. We just do,
Yes.
right? And we have, we have very low priced items on our menu. We have high priced items on our menu. We have customers span, right, the demographic. We have
Yeah.
customers that are, 80 plus years old that come into our store. We have a little bus that comes that brings folks from one of the assisted living facilities. So our customers span, and we deliver as well, as you know. So, we deliver, $25, right? We don't need it to be a big order. So really one of the big objectives for us too is to be able to not only be respected like that, but be the company that helps and that makes cannabis more accessible and more available to people that can't necessarily get it. And that doesn't necessarily only mean price, that means access, right? So
Absolutely.
that's one of the underlying things for our delivery business. We have lots of customers that order delivery now that just don't come because they can't come. It's too hard for them, or they don't have a vehicle, or they don't have this, or so. I think, like you were saying, really being on top of the things that are important. Like I could drive delivery in terms of marketing. How would I want to do that, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you know, there's a lot of things that we can do with it. So I think you're spot on there with respect to the marketing. And I think my experience has always been that I find that I spend a lot of money and I'm not always getting the results that I want. I mean, you talk to, I don't know, hundreds and hundreds of clients, right?
Yes.
I'm sure you've
Yes.
seen this story, many times where they're frustrated because they are spending money, but they don't feel like they're getting the results. And I don't want to characterize that as being on the marketing companies. A lot of times it's on us. And so the worst thing that we can do is spend money on something and not put the right amount of effort into it.
Absolutely. I think as a marketing agency, we have seen that spending money on a brand that has very clear goals and objectives to make its consumer first approach, and having a factors such as your maybe your branding, your delivery, your service, and all those things as first, it's easier to drive customers and maybe convert, and making that money more valuable than just driving customers and just having enough approach where you are maybe having promotions saying 50% discount, buy one get one free, all that stuff. So I think you're right, right? Having spend money on something that is long-term value creation is always going to be a differentiator for any brand, right? So in the let's pivot to the I would say in the future direction. So if you look ahead at the rest of 2026, right, and maybe and beyond, I will say let's say 3 to 5 years. So what is a big vision or next milestone for Melo Cannabis that you are most excited about, and maybe you can talk about kind of an opportunity that you think can be a future one, but it's an opportunity that most people must be sleeping on or maybe just thinking on probably.
Yeah. So I think if we look out to the second half of the year and even into the beginning of next year, which, I mean, can't believe it's July 1st already, right? So we're already
Yeah.
halfway through this year. I think you're seeing a lot of reactionary behavior in our market today of people There's new rules, limits are up. You can buy more, you can have more locations. And I think you're seeing a lot of a race where people are getting anxious. Oh, I've got to go buy things. I've got to get this. I've got to get that. And, I think that's probably not a good approach. Patience is generally a good approach when it comes to these types of things. The deals are going to not get worse. They're going to get better for buyers, I think. I don't think changing the regulations makes a bad business good. So
Right.
I think we're seeing a race here a little bit in Massachusetts for people to add stores, and maybe add stores that are not the best stores to add because they can get them for cheap. Getting a store for cheap doesn't mean it's a good thing to do. It's
Right.
still not a good store, and it's a bad store, then you have a bad store. And if you don't make money, then you're just burning cash, right? So, price is important, but, paying zero for a business that's never going to make any significant profit for you is not a good investment. And it takes
Right.
away the resources from the rest of your company. Now you're dealing with a store that makes no money. Why even have a store if it doesn't make any money, right? Yes, we're doing things for the community, but we're not a charity, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So I think that's something that I think is really important because lots of marginal stores out there that can be picked up. We do see opportunities in the market, and as you know, we've talked before. We have a second store that we're in the process of acquiring called Leaf Joy. It's out west a little bit off of Route 2, and this is a store that I think is in a great location. It's on Route 2, right on the highway,
Right.
a mile and a half away from I-91. There are 50,000 people within 6-7 miles of the store. It's not far from New Hampshire and Vermont. It's got not too much competition, and the competitors there are mostly not vertically integrated. So, and we have a big parking lot. It wasn't an expensive acquisition, but it's a good location. We have to build it up, but I believe we can build it up. So I think we're seeing that kind of really rush to expand. And you've seen this through the cycles of the industry. We've been in it for, I don't know how many, I've been in this for 10 years legally almost,
Yeah. Me too. Yeah.
right? And so we're trying to exercise patience and really be diligent. We think we have a really nice store that we picked up, out west. We are looking for a store in Boston right now. We believe, so when you look at what's important to Mello, and I look forward, and I would say that to your question, a lot of my colleagues are looking at this the same way and doing similar things. We actually all talk about it. And there are a lot that are not doing this. And I think the ones that aren't doing it are maybe missing out on an opportunity to strengthen their businesses and reduce risk. So you don't hear the sales guys talk about reducing risk, right? But you hear the finance guy talk about that, of course. So how do I reduce the risk in my business? So where's the risk coming from? The wholesale market. Okay, everybody knows that nobody pays their bills in cannabis. So not only is wholesale a big challenge, but I have credit risk that's significant, and I don't get paid for 60 days, right? If I have a store, I get paid that day, and there's no credit risk, right? I just collect money. So for us wholesalers as well as retailers, I think it's important to get more retail presence, whether it's through buying them or having other agreements or management agreements or things like that, where you control retail shelves and you have your product on more retail shelves where you're getting more margin for that. The margins, obviously, when you sell all the way through from cultivation through retail are much higher. Of course, we capture margin all along the way. And I think that, for us, we still want to have a wholesale business. Don't get me wrong, but we want to make sure it's the right size and we're on the right shelves and we're the best shelves, right? Because as you know, I'm working on the branding. And so having my product in stores that are low-end stores that are just fighting for the lowest prices, that's not the best place for me to be with my products.
Right.
So I think for us, getting a little bit more retail, balancing the wholesale and retail business is certainly a big focus for us, number one. And number two, we continue to be focused on costs. So I think this is probably the big one that everybody's still missing again, Varun.
Right.
I came to Mello a year and a half or so ago to restructure the business. We reduced our operating costs significantly. We do more with less. And I think everybody's happier and we're a better performing company. But the cost management doesn't stop there. I've already found areas where we're already out. I've had a slippage over here, slippage over here. Really being on top of costs, I think, is the most important thing that cannabis operators can do, because the market economics are not going to get better. Prices
Right.
are not going to go up. Labor costs are not going to go down. And so, you really have to stay cost conscious. And I think, like some of my colleagues, we talk about this, and I know they're real focused on it, but many just don't even think about it. And so that's one of the other things that I think being the CEO and the CFO does is it's just a natural thing, right? And there's ways, it's got to control our costs and manage them. When I say controlling costs, this doesn't actually even involve reducing people. It's just controlling costs and spending, and then driving automation and using AI tools to make everybody more productive. So as I grow the business, I don't have to add as many people. I have my people are more capable and they have more time because
Right.
I've given them what they've learned, that now we can scale up as a business without growing more cost. So I think that's it from that perspective. And I'll make one other comment. I think I might have told you this actually when we were at my store. I was listening to Mark Cuban on something he said, and he was talking about public companies and value of their equity. And he said, AI is going to destroy the value of equity of every regular company. And it's an interesting angle. And he says, either one, you're going to adopt AI and transform your whole company into an AI type company, because your startups are AI companies now. They're going to compete with you. And that's going to cost a lot of money, and it's going to take your value down.
Exactly.
You're not going to do that, and you're going to get your lunch eaten by the AI startups that are competing with you, and then your stock value is going to get destroyed. So, one way or another, I think cannabis companies sometimes think, oh, we're cannabis, right? And it's just got this thing about stoners. This is a real business, a real industry, and we all need to be focused on how AI is going to change not only our businesses, but the jobs young people not only have now, but have in the future of their careers.
Absolutely, yeah. It's a kind of I think, innovation that is going to help us improve the productivity and lower the cost across the supply chain, right? And maybe that will help a business to become more profitable as well, right?
Absolutely.
So, yeah. So, Matt, this was a great conversation. I would say this is a masterclass in what cannabis retail should be. It's less about selling weed, more about earning trust, building habits, and making the customer feel like they found their place, right? At the end of the day, the best dispensaries don't just move products, they move people from curious to confident, from first visit to favorite store, right? And that's where brands like Mellow are really changing the game. So I would say what stood out most is that cannabis retail is not just about having the right products on the shelf. It's about helping people feel confident, comfortable, and understood. So for everyone listening, the takeaway is simple. The future of cannabis retail will not be won only by bigger menus, louder ads, or deeper discounts. It will be won by brands that make discovery easier, buying more comfortable, and customers more likely to come back, probably. So, Matt, thank you for joining us and giving us a real look at how Mellow is building that kind of brand. And to our viewers, thank you for tuning into Budcast, powered by Spokes Digital. If you want to scale your cannabis brand, master your digital marketing, and stay ahead of the curve, make sure to hit that subscribe button, share this episode, and visit us at spokesdigital.us. Until next time, I'm Varun Patel. Keep innovating, keep scaling, and we will be seeing you on the next episode.
Thank you, Varun. Good to chat with you.
Absolutely.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.
Yeah. Bye. So, hello, everyone.